This week's injury update is brought to you by the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. JOI is the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Dr. Stephen Crenshaw joins us now here on Brent and Friends on ESPN 690. And, wow, you've been in this thing a long time, Doc. It's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? It's a long season. Here we are in mid-December, and I guess only the strong survive in the NFL. The attrition is real in this league.
Definitely a game of endurance, or a season of endurance, better put.
Yeah, and some of these injuries are tricky. And, I mean, heck, the Jaguars are going through, I think, Andre Sisco now with the groin. Some of them, like Jamal Agnew, coming back after 4 weeks. I almost feel like you feel fortunate in the NFL if you have injuries that will just keep people out a week or two or maybe 4 instead of the ones that are categorized as season-ending injuries. That list varies, of course, right? There are some that just you can't come back from, and then some, the soft tissue that you can balance with trying to get back on the field if you have time.
Definitely. The week-to-week grind just kind of takes it out of some of these guys, and they need some recovery time that a week doesn't afford that, whereas some of these injuries may take weeks and maybe months to recover from. So it's different for every player and every injury, but, it's survival of the fittest by the end of the season, and whoever's got the best team on the field is going to, kind of survive that battle.
You guys are great with us and talk a lot of different injuries and give us some of the expert opinions on what's going on with various injuries across the league. From your view, what you saw last Monday night with Trevor walking out of that stadium essentially with crutches, to his ability to play and test it out and really move almost normal, it looked like to our eyes on Sunday. How amazing is that, like, in the profession? Or were you even talking about it amongst peers and everything else? Like, that's pretty incredible, high ankle sprain, to be able to get back on the field and look the way he did Sunday.
Well, I think it's really easy to kind of categorize these into high, low, or anywhere in between. The injury happens, and we're essentially blind to other than what they tell us and what you can see when you review the film. And then you start to glean information that night from x-rays and exams, and the next day from scans, and then the player has a chance to get better. And we've seen this with a number of the players here in the past who seem to have a bad injury on the day of the game, and the next day they're looking better. By the end of the week, they're back playing. So, the terminology we're using in the ankle now is somewhat black and white, whereas there's just so many nuances in terms of the location of the injury, the severity of the injury, and then you got to look at the will of the player. I mean, some players are motivated to play; they want to play, they have reasons to get back out there even if they're hurt. Look at Patrick Mahomes last year playing against us in that final game. I mean, there's nobody in their right mind that would want to be out there playing with that ankle. So you got to look at the player, you got to look at the injuries, and then, some of this is just sheer will.
We've had you on, Dr. Stephen Crenshaw, with us on ESPN 690. We've had you on multiple times this fall, too. We've talked about Jacksonville University, what you do over there, and also with the Jags and other injuries that take place around the sports world. You specialize, I believe, in knee and hip, and even the Jags, but other teams have had these knee injuries, meniscus. Does it kind of I guess, fall in the same thing that you just mentioned about ankles? Like, there's different variations, different grades, different, whether pain tolerance or healing abilities from players when it comes to the knee, or is it a little bit more in the black and white category?
No, I think there's very few things in this business of black and white, and there's no exception in the NFL. The meniscal injuries, a lot of these are chronic injuries that just kind of get tweaked. It's hard. There's really not an easy way to monitor a meniscus injury or deterioration or what have you. And so, we get scans, but we can't scan them frequently enough to know how these are changing. So they start hurting. You rest them a little bit, you treat them. They get back to what they think they can play with, and they some of them move right through it. So again, there's no such thing as black and white. The simplest version of black and white is a broken bone, but even that can be, kind of looked at in different ways where it's not always as serious as you make it sound.
Dr. Stephen Crenshaw with us here on Brett and Friends on ESPN 690. I got to believe some of the trying to get back, some of the injuries that take place, maybe in that leg area especially, also lead to potential other injuries. I think we're seeing hamstrings that turn to quads, or there's certainly a risk, right, when you lose some of either the strength in that upper part of the leg to create some knee injuries. That's got to be a concerning thing for anybody in the medical profession dealing with some of these athletes, Jacksonville or other places, that you don't want to turn one injury into another one.
Well, I think it's a consideration. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily the way we look at it from a return-to-play perspective, trying to get them back when they're less vulnerable to re-injure something else. But I think that's not a bad perspective to have. I mean, we've always looked at soft tissue, or at least the hamstrings and such, in the early season as also related to conditioning and how they're working out. So this version of it later in the season, where they're hurt, they're kind of partially healed, they go back out there and they may make some adjustment to their normal speed or normal type of play, and that may pose them to yet another injury elsewhere. So I think it's a reasonable point, but this is a limited roster, and these guys are paid to play, and if they think they can and they look like they can, then I think everybody's on board with that.
Yeah, and of course, most of the time, they can't wait to get back out there or want to get back out there. Just got to make sure it's not too soon. One last one for you. I would love to know for your perspective after all these months of the Aaron Rodgers conversation. There's a chance, I guess he's doing some 7-on-7 drills. We've seen him throw the football around, yet it kind of feels like, I don't know if he's coming back. What's your view on this as this has shaken out from looking at it from afar? And where this potentially could land? I guess there's still a very outside chance he could play, but I think most of the trend here is for him not to play this season, even though he is back up, moving around, and even throwing a football a bit.
Well, I think there's a big difference between what he's doing and going back into a game and playing full speed. And I don't myself see that happening or being wise to allow that to happen. But the Achilles, he certainly had an accelerated recovery from what we traditionally looked at as, the recovery period after Achilles tendon repair. But that may be as much of him and the more aggressive rehab that he got that a lot of people aren't privy to. But I don't think anybody in there really believes that he should be out there, quarterbacking at that level and not worried that he's going to re-injure himself or there or elsewhere.
Yeah, I would. I think that seems like it's the way it's certainly going. It's been an interesting watch, though, each and every week this NFL season, especially with the Jets still in the mix, actually, to potentially get a playoff spot, although it would seem unlikely at this point. Dr. Stephen Crenshaw from Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, appreciate your time and expertise. Have a good week, and we'll see you on the weekend.
All right, Brent. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.